Hi, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and read our preamble for today. Creative West shares a fundamental and abiding commitment to equity, accessibility, inclusion, and belonging. We recognize and greatly appreciate the extraordinary contributions of our team and the impact we seek to have in our communities in the West and beyond. We understand that trust is built slowly with communities we wish to serve that have experienced generational betrayal and trauma. Our shared commitments provide a grounding for generating spaces of trust and safety within our team and in these communities we seek to serve through our work. We are dedicated to seeing these communities reflected in our work over time consistently. Our shared commitments today. We value humility, learning from our mistakes, and asking questions to gain deeper understanding. We feel empowered to hold one another accountable, establish bound change. To ask questions or to make comments, please use the raise hand function and/or write your question in the chat at any time. Click on reactions in the middle of your screen and choose raise hand, or click on chat in the middle of your screen to write your questions or comment. This is also essential with our interpreters today. So if you, for our small groups that will be happening later on in this session, need the interpreter with you, please DM me directly so I can ensure that there is an interpreter with you in the room. Live transcripts, closed captions are turned on. You can view or hide them, change the size, as well as other functions by using the up arrow on live transcript, which is either in the middle of your screen or behind the More button with the 3 dots on the right side of your screen. Now, back to you, Ashanti.
Thank you so much, Marcelina. And to ensure a smooth and engaging experience, let's go over a couple of additional items. ASL interpretation, as mentioned before, we have ASL interpreters with us today. To keep them visible, you can pin their video by clicking the 3 dots on the corner of your video and your video window and selecting pin. We'll also have a dedicated Q&A session with our guest speakers after their presentation. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we go, and we'll do our best to address them. Next is our capacity building webinar purpose. The FY26 capacity building webinar calendar is designed to provide a strategic, inclusive, and responsive learning series for individual artists, culture bearers, and arts organizations across the Creative West region and beyond. Grounded in FY25 series, this dual stream approach intentionally separates webinars from individual artists and arts administrators, allowing each group to deepen their skills for relevant to their practice and operations. So expect a lot of our webinars this year to have a organization focus and an individual focus. Okay. Next, we have our panelists I'd like to introduce to you today. Monique Michelle from Ballet Folklorico Mexico Lindo, Emily Wolfram of the Montana Performing Arts Consortium, and Dio Ayodele of Global Lounge. They are leaders in the field and have a wealth of knowledge to share with us. Please join me in giving them a warm welcome. All right. And to get a sense of who's in the room today and how you're all doing, we're going to launch our first poll. You should see on the screen in a moment. And please take a moment to answer whether if you are attending as a staff person, board member, or if you're in executive leadership. And your responses will help us tailor the conversation to your needs.
Thanks, everybody, for answering. We're going to give it a few minutes to let everybody answer. And then, Ashanti, I'll let you know when it looks like everyone's answered.
Great. Thank you, Marcelina.
Awesome. It has ended and it looks like we are at 55% leadership, 32% board, and 14% staff.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for participating in that poll. And I'm first going to turn it over to Emily Wolfram, who will begin our panel, and she has a short presentation. So,
thank you so much. I'm going to try and share my screen. It looks like I am able to. Give me 1 second. All right, can you all see the rainbow falling down into a wind farm? Okay, great. Let me just pull up my notes really quick. Okay, so thanks for the quick introduction. I'm Emily Wolfram. I'm the Executive Director of the Montana Performing Arts Consortium. When I'm not, I'm a development officer for the Great Falls Public Library Foundation, and I live in Great Falls, Montana. So that's my local library. And when I'm not busy doing either of those two things, I am freelancing and running my own web design business called W Design. I also do other marketing consulting for email marketing and social media. So those are the things that I have, those are the professional capacities that I usually work in. And I'm going to go on and just give you an overview of just my general thoughts about the key things to think about when building a board or developing a board. Let me just move my screen. Here we go. So the first thing that I would think about are mission, vision, and values. And once you've thought about those and your needs in regard to those things, I'm going to talk just briefly about working boards versus governing boards, which is very basic, but that's a good thing to clarify for yourself and for people who are potentially going to serve on your boards. Then we'll talk about who can serve on your boards and the rules that define that. We'll talk about actually building the team and onboarding the team, and then we will return to mission, vision, and values as like an ongoing theme for navigating things as a nonprofit. All right, so in regards to the mission, vision, and values, this is kind of the whole point of your organization's existence. You may mostly just have a mission and some values defined. Maybe you've done some visioning work, or maybe you've done some strategic planning, so you have a clear thought about your vision as well. All of these things are great to think about when you're thinking about who you need to be working with, or who and what your organization needs. Like, what elements or people do you need to pursue your mission or your work and get you closer to your vision and stay aligned with your mission. So these can include people with similar priorities and values. You might need certain skill sets or experience or expertise in certain areas. And you might need people with certain types of connections. And I'm going to use my organization, Montana Performing Arts Consortium, as I talk about this as an example. So for my organization, we call it MPAC for short. Our mission is actually rather long. I did not write it, but I highlighted the key things in what we do. We promote and encourage the touring and presentation of the performing arts. We provide support to our members, and we do our best to foster a favorable climate for the touring of the arts and for presenters in our state. So we need people who are knowledgeable and experienced in the presenting and performing arts area. So this includes presenters who are part of 501c3 organizations, performers and artists, people experienced with all performance disciplines, theater, music, etc. And also generally like nonprofit management. Most of our presenter members, pretty much all of them, are nonprofits. So having expertise in best practices in that area is important too. We also, because of the nature of our state, need people working with us who understand rural communities versus urban communities. Going on really quickly to working boards versus governing boards. This is a good thing to know because this dictates who is doing the work, who are the players on the field, if you want to think of a sports analogy. This can be dictated by the budget and your staffing capacity. And like I said, this tells you who does the actual work. So it gives you another idea of like who you need to be looking for what roles, board or staff. All right, so for all volunteer organizations, these are typically working boards. So it's the board members on the field, moving the ball, so to speak, or doing the work, doing the programmings and running the operations. The things that help you pursue your mission do not happen without your board doing the work. So they're pretty active, and it's good to be upfront about this if you are seeking new board members. An organization with staff have their employees that do the bulk of running programs and day-to-day operations. And this is usually with a governing board who, as you can see, is more on the sidelines, providing strategy and oversight to ensure that activities align with your mission and support your vision. So it's really more the staff that are active out front and center, but they are heavily supported by their board members. And that's not to say that the board shouldn't or couldn't be very active. That's still very important, but they're just it's different. And then you might have kind of a hybrid situation, which is actually my situation with the Montana Performing Arts Consortium. We have a small staff because it is just me. I used to joke with my mom when I got this job and I told her I was an executive director and she said, "Of what?" And I said, "Of myself," because it's just me. I'm the one staff person. And so ideally that for situations like this where it's like one person or maybe just a few people doing a lot, a good active board who is doing some of the work as well can be a really great situation that can help improve the capacity of a very small organization and help avoid employees feeling like they are too overburdened and burned out. So it's good to be clear about the expectations, whether it's a working board or a governing board or a mix of both. So that way, the people that you do have on your team end up being where they need to be and supporting in the areas that they need to be supporting. And this is important for all types of organizations. For those with no staff or small staff, you may have trouble achieving the level of impact that you would like to if you don't have enough board support, if they don't understand that they need to be doing more than just governing. And even with fully staffed organizations, if you have board members that are too in the weeds or don't really understand their higher level role, that can interfere with daily operations, and that can cause issues too. So at the outset of onboarding a new director, be clear about the role and what's needed from that person. All right, so going on to the leadership pool and looking at who is allowed to be a leader as a board member and how long can they serve, and do your rules, as in your bylaws, allow you to pick the right people? Because now that you've defined what you need, you just want to see like what your options are. So check your bylaws, and this is sometimes a place where like things evolve and you need to update your bylaws to reflect the needs of your organization or your environment. But yeah, these define who's eligible for those leadership positions and how your organization is supposed to go through nominating and voting. And it's bylaws are bylaws. Just make sure they accurately reflect the way you want to run your leadership. So going back to MPEC, we are an association with membership, and our bylaws dictate that we can nominate members of our association to become directors. And again, because of the nature of our state and the presenting organizations that would become members of this includes many of those rural communities. So in a way, it does reflect that need that speaks to needing to work with people who understand rural versus urban communities. All right, so now that you've covered those topics, as far as actually building the team, There are tools and steps and systems for getting organized about the actual building. I'm listing a few of them here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about these because there are several resources on the internet that exist where you can find them. I will just say that these are the kinds of things to introduce to candidates before they sign on. A job description can be especially useful because that they understand what they are committing to and will be more likely to actually to follow up on those things. And also, that's a good tool for doing board evaluations later on. So definitely explain this stuff at the outset. Some places that you can look for examples or templates for these things are places like Blue Avocado or the Joan Gary website or podcast. Board Source is another one, or the National Council of Nonprofits, or your own state association of nonprofits is a good place to go as well. And then as far as after you've done the onboarding and you're working with your board and having your meetings, these are a few ideas for ways to keep those folks engaged on more than just a practical and work-focused level. Icebreakers are great for letting board members get to know each other and be candid with each other and like just relate to each other as human beings. They're also just nice ways to start a meeting. Having a mission moment can be something where they share something about how they connected to the mission of the organization since their last meeting, just so that you're building up this this culture, this expectation that they are engaging with the mission between meetings, or as they go about their responsibilities. And then as far as development goes, this is self-improvement and self-awareness of the quality of their leadership and an ongoing, honoring an ongoing desire to become better at it. And so these are things that you can do to keep staying in touch with what made them desire to join in the first place, and to continue relating to those shared values and priorities for your organization and a shared passion for your mission. One resource to check out is Susan Hallett's very, very thin book. It's called Boards on Fire. You can buy that. It's a very thin booklet, and if you buy it for your whole board, I think she gives you a discount. You'll have to check her website, but that's one I recommend. Okay, and as far as the example from MPEC goes, when I take these factors into consideration, what are MPEC's needs and what's the pool I can draw from, here's what building a board looks like for me. My directors must be from the membership, as I mentioned. A key factor is that much of our membership pool comes from rural towns, which tend to have fewer resources, and these organizations are also, like, in these local areas, are run by mostly volunteers or members of the community. And they may already be kind of strapped for time and resources because they're already volunteering for multiple things, and I have to keep that in mind. So our leadership, I have to be aware that our leadership pool, they can't just I can't just expect them to step up to the plate because of altruism or even shared values. They need some other compelling reason or benefit to decide to volunteer more of their already diminishing spare time. So when I realized that this might be a barrier or an issue, I was talking to a colleague at another booking conference, and she explained that most of her presenters who are members are paid professionals, and they work at bigger venues and they have more resources, and it's like kind of part of their job, their paid job already, to do things like this. And I was like, oh, well, our community, our statewide community is totally different, so I have to think about it differently. So since my own board members, I find that they actually need arts and nonprofit management, like development opportunities, just as much as my organization itself and me myself. So that, therefore, the professional development aspect and skill building aspect is something that I am going to try really hard to incorporate into this experience when I ask somebody to come and serve, or when my board invites and nominates somebody and votes them on. So that way they are getting something out of it while they're also volunteering their time. So one way that I did this, just as an example, is I included information about ways that having the experience of being a member of the MPAC board can also relate to the things that might help them solve problems or build capacity in their own local organizations in their other communities. And this is something that I included in our program for our conference this year, which just finished on Sunday. And we actually, I'm still finding out if it's the reason that this all worked, but we did have a lot more interest from membership in terms of people getting more deeply involved. And we did have some more than usual folks come forward to ask about getting involved as a board member. So that was a really good thing that came from thinking about it this way, I think. So after all that, let's say you did all the things, you looked at your mission and your vision, and you made your matrix, and you did all the onboarding, and you got a board development program happening. That's great. We all just ride off into the sunset, right? That would be great if that were true, but there's always bumps along the way. There's challenging situations. You may have a tricky director situation or staff situation to deal with, or just difficult decisions that it can be hard to know what's the right way forward. When you navigate these things, I would just say, ask yourself which of your options keeps you closest to your mission and vision. And these are things that your board should also be thinking about as well. Like, what is the option that aligns best, or the behavior that aligns best with your mission and vision and values? And if you and your directors can answer that question with integrity, then you'll be okay. And that's the end of my presentation for now. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Emily, for that amazing presentation. I'd like to open this up now to the rest of the board to just have an opportunity to talk about some of the things that we had actually gone over in regards to, in preparation of this webinar, some of the things that you've experienced being on boards or working with boards, and especially many of you being in, and well, I know Emily, for example, is in a rural community, and being in Boise, a little bit of a smaller city compared to a lot of the larger cities in the Creative West region. So you have a very, I think, different approach and to working with boards. So I'd like you to share a little more about that.
Oh, was that question for me, or is it for another panelist?
It's open to anyone. I think I saw Dio speak.
Yeah, I guess being that I'm from Boise and Munich, so I can actually share my own experience. We're a small organization here, a cultural organization, and it's what we do is pretty much preserve culture through arts, music, and usual suspect. And for an organization like ours, it's a little difficult, especially in a place like Boise or Idaho as a whole, to get a lot of people. So what we usually resort to is pretty much being creative with how to get people on our boards, really. Because I know sometimes some people think it's usually best to have like people in the art world, or that's more close to your mission and vision. But what I discovered personally is that sometimes it's actually okay to branch out, because on our side, Idaho is kind of like an agricultural state, really, mainly, and where they put, unlike the bigger cities like Los Angeles and all those places where they actually have a great structure for arts. Ours is a little different. It's more structure around agriculture. So what we resolve to on our end is to pretty much try to actually poach people from that world by kind of showing how this arts and culture really match really well and have the same vision and mission with the agricultural world. And some of the things I've actually talked about before, like Global Lounge, we just decided to start a farmers market this year. And the reason why that's a major thing for us, because it made us to be able to get into the agricultural world to show the commonality of what we offer, what we have with what they're doing. And it's been pretty successful because we're able to get a CFO who is the CFO of a major Fortune 500 company in Idaho to come, into our fold. He loves hearts, but the problem is that when you meet this guy, you never think that the amount of interest or passion he has for culture and arts. He's been in an organization for, I mean, our president's supposed to be for 4 years. We're gonna keep him forever, actually, because he's been so amazing to what we do. And I think I discussed that with Ashanti, like, okay, because sometimes you want to, I mean, people try to stay in their lane, but it's okay. I think you can actually get people from other places and draw them in. And some of the other things that I've done as a musician in the art world, I've kind of also ventured into the wellness world. And when I say wellness, is that people that, because we're resettlement states, so we have a lot of new Americans here, people from the refugee community. And we do serve them. We pretty much help them to preserve their culture. But what we've been able to do is to also use the art to go to schools, by partnering with I guess what I would call um, what am I like? They do these are like psychiatrists, and so that deals with trauma. So we've been able to use arts, which is music, to help them. And through that, I'm going to say this. This is a secret I'm going to share with everyone here. Okay. Thanks to Creative West and South Arts and NEA, we got a grant last year for the first time to turn our organization from all volunteer to getting one staff. I was a staff member that is transitioned into that position as the executive director. And then my grant was cut in May. But I'm going to share with you, my salary was donated by somebody who was actually in the, what's the position? She used to be a professor at a university here, and she just closed up a business. She was doing like what we call healing, trauma healing, consultations, and being a gosh, I'm not sure what my brain is. Sorry, I've been around all day today. I'm trying to pick the word, but anyway, what it does is she had a business that she was dealing with people with trauma, helping them, and because we did this music thing together, which was super successful, she donated a major fund to Global Lounge. So that's why I'm saying that sometimes it's not just the art world where you can, coach people or do things to say solve it or to make your organization run. You can actually get people from other world as well and bring them into your fold to create a success story. So that's my part of this presentation. So it's just pretty much, again, it's just being creative and thinking out of the box, and just what works well for you in your state or city. And because of that, I'm still the executive director. I have a salary for the next 2 years, with Global Lounge. So to me, that's actually amazing. And it wasn't somebody from the art world. It wasn't somebody from, this is somebody who is pretty much she's a social, like in the social worker world, and helping people with trauma. So maybe Monique may have something else to say on her part in this.
Hi, everyone. My name is Monique Michelle, zooming in from Boise in the lands of the Shoshone, Bannock, and Paiute tribes. Thank you, Dio. Congratulations, friend. That's amazing. I'm super excited for you.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you,
wonderful
friend.
news.
Thank
Wonderful
you.
news.
Thank
That is
you.
the goal right there.
Exactly. Thank you.
Before I proceed, Emily and Ashanti, there's a question in the chat about the matrix.
Yeah, we will handle that at the end. I'm keeping track of all of those, but thank you so much.
Oh, okay, super. Okay, yeah. So I'm the director. I have my own dance company. We are the Ballet Folclórico México Lindo, and I teach and I perform traditional Mexican folk dances. I've been a dancer for 800 years, and I've been teaching probably about that long too. And so my perspective, like Dio, is I'm here in Boise. Originally, I started my company in Nampa, Idaho. And Nampa, for those of you who don't know, is the next biggest city 25 miles west of Boise. And Boise is the biggest city in Idaho, and Nampa is the second largest. That said, sometimes, even though it's the second largest city, it can still feel like an island out here. And thinking about, Emily, I loved your presentation. I printed it out because it's all good information. So thank you. And thinking about what it takes to build a board and what are the logistical pieces that you need to build a board. And I think this information is really important, especially now that we're looking to see diversity in the arts. We're looking to see professionalism in the arts. We're looking to see what is it that we can do to bring others in to the table, metaphorically and literally to the arts table, so that we can form a board where we can be successful and share the arts wherever we are. And I think this is really helpful information because it can be a lot. And how do you glean the most important parts of what you need? And literally, how do you start? And I think sometimes the challenges can be you want to have people that you know serve on the board because that feels comfortable. But then as you go along in the procedures, you realize, okay, maybe that doesn't align. And Emily, to your point, I wrote down which of these options align best with your mission. I love that because I think when situations get a little tricky, I think that's the North Star right there, is to always come back to that and remember. In education, they say remember your why, and in this case, that would be remembering your why. My bias is that I'm also an educator, so during the day, I teach English as a second language for the College of Western Idaho in Boise. And I teach English language to adult refugees who are recently arrived to this country. And thinking about all of the cultural norms and differences that they bring to the table, that I've learned a lot from them. And when I think about what is it that I would like to see on my board, we all want that one person that can really get what we're trying to do, but also bring their own creative, authentic self too. So I really enjoyed that part. And I'm thinking about sometimes in Idaho, and Dio, you can maybe you can attest to this. Sometimes it feels like it can feel like an island as far as resources are concerned, and it can feel like they're always drawing from the same well. And sometimes the resources are allotted to certain organizations repeatedly, certain recipients that might look a certain way, that might present their art in a certain manner. And so sometimes that leaves little to no resources for grassroots organizations. And if that's the case, where can we find that creativity to serve our boards? And does it look like we go outside of the area? Does it look like we go to an organization like Creative West? I mean, do we look for private donors? I think sometimes those are the challenges that come up because there's no lack for creativity in on this conversation. Everybody here brings amazing talent to the table. But how do we hone in on that? And how do we tap into that so that it serves the greater mission, no pun intended, for the board that we are serving and creating. So these are things that keep me up at night.
Awesome, thank you. We still have about 10 minutes, so if there's anything else you would like to bring up, or as like a group or team, about what we think some of our people should know before we head into small groups.
I just wanted to say, oh, go ahead, Monique.
Oh, no, that's okay. Go ahead. I love that I'm raising my hand. Literally raising my hand when there's a raise hand feature.
Oh yeah, I can never find the button in time either. But I wanted to say that I appreciate what Dio said about looking outside of your art bubble to other sectors, and also congratulations, Dio, on that gift that is helping the capacity of your organization. That's amazing. But yes, that is something that I feel, and I keep hearing that all arts organizations need to do is we can't just be making art for art's sake anymore. We do have to make sure that we can demonstrate that it's connected to everything else that's important to being a human being as well. So I really appreciated that. And thank you, Monique, for also sharing.
Thank you. I was going to say the challenge that I saw was when creating a board, and this is just my own experience. I had very well-intentioned people who wanted to serve, but through discussions and policy and protocol, it was evidenced that a lot of people that I brought on board had little to no experience serving on a board, didn't know the policies, didn't know the procedures, didn't even know what it really meant other than, oh, this is fun. I'm going to bring my coffee and we're going to chat. And it's like, well, yes, but no. and so I really appreciate the point that it's not so much picking friends, so to speak, as much as it needs to be people that are aligned with your mission for the board. And that was my experience. And that can be tricky because we don't want there to be hurt feelings, but as the director of the board you need to keep that mission in clear focus so that you bring people on board that have that shared vision with you, and not just, oh, we're good friends, we see each other all the time, I like what they do, yeah, I can come in and serve, you know what I mean. And I read a long time ago that at one point or another you will need a good accountant or an attorney and or both. So yeah, that was scary.
But you see, like for me, it was a little different because I didn't have roots in Idaho. I didn't know, I moved here with my small family. I mean, I came here to join my family and things, that kind of stuff. And it was really hard to find people because I'm also an introvert. So to go ask people that I have this passion to be on the board. And to tell you the truth, what I had to rely on were people in my bubble at first, my friends, because we had to build this up to the extent where we're able to do things. So they were also, which Emily mentioned, the working board, really, because they were able to help me lift the weight and everything to get it to, the bad part about that, which Monique also said, is that the rules and regulation tends to be ignored. Your bylaws tend to go by the wayside, but again, you have this passion and this thing that you wanted to grow, you wanted to get somewhere. So to get it going so that it doesn't kill the passion or the joy or the growth or the, of your organization. So for me, it was I just got lucky. Like some of these friends were, some of them were, lawyers and accountants, and people, even though which is kind of funny. Even the people that I had who were not, they love the idea, they love the whole goals of the shining of the thing, but it was hard to get them to raise funds, which was the main problem, you know. And so that's some of the, pitfalls, it's like, okay, you want your friends or people to be on board going to get somebody. So, but for us, we kind of, try to navigate both, and that's why it took us a long time to be able to get to where we are. Because again, we had to kind of show what we're doing, having this board, these friends and stuff like that. And then we started kind of shift them to being advice, in the advisory position and getting people who can actually make things work. So for a small organization, I think again, it's just being creative and being inventive, really, for the greater goal, however it works for you. You know, right now we're actually talking about trying to update our bylaws so that we can have like some of the things that Emily was saying, that the director can come, or you can actually employ people from people on your board, or even you know, like the president that we like so much that we're gonna actually make it 10 years instead of the 3 years or 4 years that we have. Yeah, because then, this person really wants to help us grow the organization. And we need to kind of, you know, give them that chance and I guess the term to be able to do that.
I think, again, in my experience, it's there's a lot of education behind it, and more so, and maybe again that's my educator bias. I always want to teach, is that teaching people how to serve on a board, what it means to serve on a board, and really dissecting that language of this is a board, this is what we do, this is what it means, this is the goal, this is how you define a goal, and this is how your contribution fits with A, B, C, D. I've served on boards that were voting. I've served on boards that were not voting. And I've served on boards that were extremely formal, where you couldn't even speak unless we followed protocol. And I've served on some boards that were super casual and really, truly just defining what that looks like. And I think about my students when I think about these things. And if no one tells you, how would you know? And if no one explains it to you in a way that makes sense to you, how would you know? And you can't be faulted for what you don't know. So people are well intentioned, and they want to help and they want to serve. And when they do, and it's not what they thought it was going to be, that's when it falls short of expectations. And I think that's where the communication comes in that, you know, what's a board? What do you mean we're not just friends who, want to see this play to fruition, or we want to bring this concert into town? Well, there's working pieces that go along with that, which is why, again, Emily, this is like, this little packet is just yummy. I love it because it's in a nutshell. It's, what is a board? Hand them this packet. Thank you. It's wonderful. It just lays it out nice and clean, and it just makes sense. And I think there's also a lexicon that goes with boards. And there's lexicon, meaning there's certain words that we use that are associated with boards that we don't use in other capacities. Mm-hmm. So yeah, file that under things that keep me up at night.
Thank you. I was going to respond to some of the things that you mentioned, Monique. Actually, you brought up a really good point about creating a group of people that serves the needs that your organization has, but being sensitive, especially when there's the group that started and then the organization like grows or you need more. And so you need something different from what it originally started from. Like, how do you navigate that and stay positive? I thought of one thing, and then somebody said advisory board, and that's another great thing too. I think that when you start with that first piece where you say like, my organization needs X, Y, and Z, and when you start talking about what's possible when you get what you need, then it can be a positive conversation about the change that needs to happen, and it's easier for everybody to get on that train with you. Like for me right now, and serving on other boards is a great way to do that, or talking to other colleagues, like talking to other EDs. The first time I was in a different board meeting for something else, for whatever reason, and the treasurer did like the financial report and did it so well. It was like, what if my organization had like somebody that could cover that part of the meeting so thoroughly, like so much more thoroughly than me, who actually keeps books, because they actually have expertise in that area. Like, how would that change things? Like, we would all function so much better. And the advisory board is a great idea. That can be like, I'm on an advisory board because right now, for my local tourism organization where I live, there isn't like an opening yet, but they want the input of somebody from the arts and culture and humanities field. And so I am sort of in the wings on the advisory board. I don't make a quorum, but they want my input. And so that can be an important place to be. That can be a great place to honor the work of emeritus members if they've reached their term limit and it's appropriate for them to make room for someone else. They can still be contributing through an advisory board as well. So yeah, those are just great great things that I'm glad you guys brought up, because I didn't think to put them in my presentation, and I'll definitely add some links to the PDF as well to share.
Excellent. And I think also raising capital for boards is extremely important. And I wonder if it's, again, I speak for myself, I wonder if it's a cultural thing to not ask, because it doesn't feel natural to ask. I don't know. So that's been a struggle for me personally, is the ask. So I hope that we can delve into that a little bit, because I'm curious about that.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Trish, I'm so sorry. I'd like to make sure that we're remaining on time. And we have to continue to keep moving forward.
Looks like Ashanti froze a bit, but
I want to thank our speakers for this. And so we're asking to just take like a 5-minute break. And after that, we're going to go into breakout rooms so we can maybe discuss a little more of these things in depth. So, Lena, I think you have the clock.
yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put it up so everyone take a really quick restroom break, handle your accessibility needs, and be back in 5 minutes.
Millie, can I get a copy of your presentation as well?
No, of course. Yeah. I'm going to actually add live links to it, so it's a little more
Awesome.
useful to
Thank
you, and you
you.
don't have to
Thank
Google
you.
everything.
That's awesome. No, I was looking at it too, but yeah, I would love to get that for sure.
Hi, welcome back, everyone. We hope you had a refreshing break. And for this next segment, we're going to move into smaller breakout groups for a more focused discussion. This will be an opportunity to connect with your peers and dive deeper into the topics we've covered today. Our Marcelina, our tech coordinator, will now open the breakout rooms, and we'll see you back in the main room in about 15 minutes.
Hi, everybody. I'm just going to go over really quick, just a couple more ground rules for the breakout room. I know that we had a few people kind of had to move out, which is totally fine. So we're going to have a little bit of some smaller breakout rooms, which I think would leave room for some really great discussions. So I'm going to go ahead and open the breakout rooms, and you're going to have a 15 minutes, and then there will be I will give a voice note warning at the 5-minute mark, and then everybody will come back in and we can move into Q&A and some really great discussions. So I'm going to open up all the rooms, and I will see all of you soon. And Emily, would you like to be moved into a room, or do you need a little bit of break? Because I know you did the presentation. Oh, you're on mute, my love.
Hey, does it matter which one I joined?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, thanks.
And then just as an FYI for interpreters, we didn't have anyone need an accessibility need right now for you to be in the room, but we would still like you to stay on after the 15 minutes is up because we do share this out to our network and it'd be helpful. Thank you. So enjoy your quick little 15 break.
Confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ashanti, I'm going to go off camera for a minute and go to the restroom. Alrighty, everybody, we're at our 5-minute warning. We're at our 5-minute warning. Hi, welcome back, everyone. We're just waiting for everybody to come back. They have about 23 seconds, so I feel like they're using every last bit of time they have. Awesome, everyone's back. Ashanti, so whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much, Marcelina. Welcome back, everyone, to the main room. We hope we had a productive discussion in your breakout groups to share some key takeaways. We'd love for you to drop something in the chat that you might have discussed or reflection of the conversation that you had. And we'll take a moment to go over all of those. And these can also help guide our Q&A.
Yeah, Ashanti, let me know when you're ready for the Q&A and I'll start looking through for questions.
Okay. Right, I don't see anything as far as reflections just yet. But we can start with the
We can start with our first question from Heather Smith. It says, Emily, you've mentioned a matrix several times in the presentation. Can you say more about this, about what this matrix is, please?
Yeah, so thanks for asking that. This is something when I get a template or an example of it, it's in a spreadsheet. And those who know me, Trish knows me. I love spreadsheets. It can get kind of, it can be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. And it can basically help you ensure that you are checking off the things that you need in a very organized way. So like if you want to have a diverse board in terms of age, you can have brackets for age groups. If you want to have different backgrounds, professional backgrounds, like say you need somebody in finance, you need somebody that can give you legal advice, you need somebody that has connections, a certain number of people who have connections to like philanthropic resources. Like that's another type of list that can be, and it's in like this chart. And I actually have an example from my the Montana Nonprofit Association. It's so thorough because it's for like the whole nonprofit sector, not just for the arts. So there's like multiple tabs and ways to like dice up the needs that you need in your leadership. And so I'll drop that into the chat, but so you can see it. But that's basically what I mean.
Awesome, thank you. And then we do have another question of just reiterating how long do board members serve? And that's from Margarita Dancel from Guam.
I don't know if that's for me, but I can. My quick answer is like they can serve as long as your rules say they can serve. So check your bylaws. Some people find out they're accidentally breaking their bylaws sometimes when they haven't looked at them in a while and somebody's been serving for a long time. It's not the end of the world. You just have to update them. So I think you might want to think about the minimum amount of time it takes for somebody to go from being like a beginner board member to being a contributing and an effective one, and think about making it long enough for them to go on that journey. And then you might want to think about, how often you want to have turnover. The word life sentence sometimes comes up when we discuss this. So sometimes that can affect like, your ability to recruit. So if somebody knows that like they should come on for like a minimum of say 3 years and a maximum of like 6 or 9 years, then they can sort of like in their head know, like I'm going to do, they might time their involvement when it works for them the best and they can contribute the most. So that's something to think about as well. Yeah, I hope that answers your question because it can be as flexible or it could be exactly what your organization needs, as long as you know how to figure out what that is.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. And we have another question. It can go to anyone. It says, Heather Smith, we often have trouble getting nominations for our board elections. Any advice on expressing skills needs without scaring possible nominees away? Dio, I see you're unmuted. What do you think?
Now, I'm just trying to understand the question real well. So, can you say the question again? Yes,
Yeah. We are having trouble getting nominations for our board elections. Any advice on expressing skills needs without scaring possible nominees away?
Wow, that's a tough one. I think just trying because without scaring nominees away. I think I don't think there's anything wrong with you guys expressing the skill sets of the people that you need for certain positions. To tell you the truth, because if it's I believe if that's important for your organization to be able to run your you know run things, I think you because you don't want somebody that will not be able to give you the skill sets that you need for a particular position. And I will say this because for us as an organization, you know, we 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 needed an attorney, and we had to go look for one, really, to, even though the person, that we were able to finally get as a friend, but so you can say you're gonna scare people away when you need a counsel for your organization, and then you allow somebody who doesn't have an idea of how to work that role because you don't want to scare them away. So I think with that one, I think you just have to lay it out. At one point we were looking for a bookkeeper. Nobody wanted to take that up, because we didn't have money to pay somebody, so, but we did find actually, again, this is another thing. I had to go get somebody from Wells Fargo where I used to work to take up that position. So sometimes, I mean, skill set that you need is very important, and I think you can't be shy about that because you don't want to scare people away. You just need to put that out there. If they don't take it, somebody else will.
Awesome. Thank you, Dio. And then Emily, I see you had your hand raised.
Yeah. I had a couple thoughts on that. I was in a workshop where we did a quick little exercise that I thought was really useful for this question, because if you let the nominee express their skills, sometimes that can help you figure out how to give them something, or have them contribute in a way that you do need, but maybe not the way that you expected. And the question was to have people introduce each other to themselves in a group setting, and have them tell each other what kind of friend they were. When somebody has this problem, they call me. And it could be about your specific sector, or it could be about just being a friend, or the type of social situation. And my answer was a communications thing, because marketing is in my background. I find sometimes odd but good simple analogies for complicated situations to translate them. That was my answer. And somebody might come up with something like that, and I might tell you where they fit in the roles that you have. And right now, the second thing I had was that the way I'm going to experiment and go about this question is to not so much explain what I need, but to ask potential nominees what they want to learn, what do they want to get better at. And since I know that board development is going to be part of the experience, then my goal is to help meet that desire to become better in that area, and then also help them develop into the board member that I need them to be, so they can support me. So maybe they don't have the skill that you want now, but if there's someone that has the desire to get there, that is good too. Because a lot of this is about learning anyways. I've been an executive director for 2.5 years and I'm still learning a lot on the job. So I think it's okay that the other people working with me are on my board are in the same boat. And then the last thing, which is where, like, if you're going out into the world and seeking people who have not presented themselves yet, one suggestion is to look at other professional associations. For example, in Montana, there's like an association of CPAs or accountants. I forget what the name of it is, but they are professional finance people. And through this association, it like encourages them to go out and become board members of nonprofit associations to serve the community. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just call them up and see who wants to like be part of the arts world, and they happen to be a CPA. So that's something I'm going to try, and I was going to suggest it to the group.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And we are going to do one more question and then we're going to wrap up. We want to honor everyone's time. And Emily and I are at Arts Northwest. And so that's super exciting to get back to that as well. So our last question is, any suggestions on navigating an existing board with new executive director leadership? I work with a lot of orgs where new leadership is stepping in with the pre-existing board who might still be tied to a past mission or goal, even as the community need is shifting. Monique, I can see you thinking. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's about relationship building. It really is. It's about meeting this new person where they're at. And sometimes there's the mindset that it's been this way for 800 years and it doesn't need to change. And this is how we've always done it. And when so-and-so was here, this is how we did it. And that's great. But this person that's new deserves a fair chance to show what leadership skills they bring to the table. Clearly, obviously, they were chosen for a reason. And I know change is hard, but also this person has a lot to give the board and the organization, and it can't happen if there's not an openness and a willingness to allow them to have their skill sets shine through. And actions speak louder than words, and sometimes they just need to demonstrate that they are capable of doing the job because that's why they were chosen. And like I said, some are resistant to change, and I've seen it. And you know, if it never changes, then it never changes. So yeah, that's a tricky one, but also it's, if there's never any change, there's never any opportunity for growth, and then it stays the same. So it's trust is needed to show why they were chosen.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for this amazing presentation and the time to connect. Ren, I would also maybe recommend possibly board retreat if you have the capacity and the time, and sometimes yes, it does include money, but having an opportunity to have everybody come together and discuss and really start reframing and reshifting that focus into those priorities might be a good way to help level some of those competing perspectives, and sometimes even having a neutral party help facilitate that can be really helpful. So thank you so much for all of your time that you've spent and your participation in this webinar. We're excited to share what's coming up for the next capacity building webinar series on Tuesday, November 11th. At 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Join writer, multidisciplinary artist Yvonne Onakeme Etagahene for Storytelling for Impact, Artist Statements and Bios. It's a session designed for artists to articulate their why, refine their statements and bios, and share their work with authenticity and confidence. I'm going to put this in the chat. It's definitely focused for artists, but please be sure to share out if you or anyone is interested in participating. And again, I want to thank our presenters today.
Really quick, Ashanti, sorry. And I also put in the chat currents, which is where you can be the first to know about anything Creative West is offering right now. We are going to, when you sign up for currents, this is where, other than also our newsletter that comes through Creative West, currents is where we find the storytelling and the vault, and you get the first to know about any of our grant opportunities coming up. So that is also in the chat.
Thank you so much, Marcelina, for that reminder. And as mentioned earlier, we'll be sharing out this information to everyone who has signed up for the webinar. We look forward to hearing back from you and learning more on how we can better support you in these webinars. So thank you again from Creative West, and we hope to see you soon.